Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Suburban Driving with Miranda. It is absolutely frigid out here, but it's okay. I have the Subaru Ascent, which means all of the snow, it just gobbles it up. So let's take it for a ride and see what it has to offer. So, welcome to the interior of the 2021 Subaru Ascent. As you can see, I have my child with me. It is Owen's March break, so he is actually going to participate in this review, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So in terms of the interior space in the Ascent, this is a nice big vehicle. I mean, you're not wanting for space anywhere, no matter what row that you're in. This is spacious, it's big, nice big open windows. I love the amount of storage space that's in here. It's got neat little cubbies up front. I have two-tone dash, so I've got a nice light cream color plus the darker dash with the lighter stitching. It's nice, it's classy. It kind of ups that Subaru scale. You're not used to seeing something maybe as kind of luxury as this. In terms of the center stack, super easy to use. The screen is nice and big. It's a color touch screen. I also have a secondary screen up top on my dash, and that's for fuel economy. I can look at my entry and exit levels if I'm off-roading. I can see what radio station I'm listening to. I can see the weather, a whole bunch of things, and you can switch that up all here in the center. And then of course I have my HVAC controls. I can also help the rear or lock it or shut it down completely if nobody's back there and I don't feel like trying to reach out blind back there to try and turn it off. Everything can be controlled here. I also have a charge pad inside the armrest here. Cup holders, all of my buttons on the steering wheel that I can control everything with, including paddle shifters, which I haven't used this week, but we'll talk about that when I drive. Good gauge cluster. I love the light blue analog arrows. I think they add a nice little touch to the car, and it's a color that you don't see often in a gauge cluster, so it's pretty cool. Now, in terms of the second and third row, I'm never back there. I spend all my time in the driver's seat. I rarely even sit in the passenger seat. I am always here behind the steering wheel. That's how I like it. So to really get a sense for how the second and third rows feel, I thought it was best to ask the expert back there who spends all of his time there and who has not only ridden in the second row, but also gone into the third row for a little while. So, Owen, can you tell us a bit about the second row?
So the second row has a cup holder on the door. You can control your heating back here. And
do you have a heated seat?
Yes, I do. And you have vents up here, you have a light, and there's also cup holders that open up in the armrest here in the back. And you also have two USB ports.
Very good.
And it is a captain's chair. It has nice armrests here that you can put up and down. And
do you feel like you have a decent amount of space back there?
Yes, I do.
Yeah?
And well,
and what about that third row? Have you gone back there yet?
Yes, I have. And to get back there, it is kind of hard. As you can see, I'm trying to get back.
We also have stuff back there, so.
Yeah, but it's a bit hard. But if you move the seat forwards, you will fit.
Okay.
So
would you spend a lot of time back there? Do you think you'd be comfortable on like a 2-3 hour road trip back there?
Yes, if I were taller and bigger, and then there would have to be either somebody small or a kid sitting here so I can move the chair forwards. But yeah, it's nice back here. You have a nice speaker. You have two USB ports again, and you have a nice cup holder, two actually on each side, and it's a really nice car.
Do you have windows back there?
Yes, I do.
So you don't feel trapped or claustrophobic? You got a nice airy feeling back there?
Yeah.
Good. So would you recommend this car for a family then? Do you think it would be good with the 3 rows?
Yes, but if you have like a family of like a lot of tall and big people,
Yeah.
then going in the back wouldn't be that comfortable. Your legs would be a bit trapped.
A bit cramped.
Yeah.
But for smaller people, it's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I like your review. There you go, from the mouths of babes. You've heard about the second and third row, a review that I could never really give. So he's enjoyed his time back there. Now, just to say that third row really does eat into the trunk space. When both seats are up, it's a pretty small area. It seems silly because it's such a large car, but with that third row up, you really lose quite a bit of cargo space. But with that third row down, it really opens everything up. And this is a very practical vehicle in terms of interior space. And of course, it's a Subaru, so in general, it is a practical, nice to own car. But no, I like it in here. Like I said, it's very comfortable, it's very spacious. We've had a great week with it, done a lot of things, picked up a lot of items, transported cats, and enjoyed our March break behind the wheel, or I've been behind the wheel, inside the Subaru Ascent. So when it comes to driving the 2021 Subaru Ascent, I quite like it. It's a big vehicle, you know, it's a 3 rows, we know this. This is the biggest Subaru that they have. Let's start with the facts right away. It has a 2.4 liter turbocharged boxer engine, which means it's got that nice horizontally opposed flat engine. It produces 260 horsepower and 277 pound-foot of torque. For a few of the models, you can tow up to 5,000 pounds with this thing. It's the upper models, obviously. Not all of them have that ability. However, they all come equipped standard with X mode and eyesight. So X mode is basically a combination of a lot of off-roading bits and pieces from a couple of different companies, but the most important one is your hill descent control. So basically, it'll hold you if you tell it to not go above 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers an hour, then it won't do that, and it'll hold you going down the hill really, really well. It's a pretty cool feature. I've used it on Mercedes, Land Rover, etc. I haven't used it in the Subaru, so I don't know exactly how it works, but I do know that it is a fantastic system if you're off-roading and if you're in really kind of sketchy situations with loose ground or really just a steep descent. And then eyesight, I've been through it with you guys before, but basically it's a set of cameras that are up here by the rear mirror and they see for you. So it's not a laser system, it is actually cameras. So it's there to help you prevent front collision. It even warns you if the car in front of you has pulled away. Let's say you're looking down at the radio, it'll beep at you and be like, hey, like wake up, the car in front of you has moved, it's time for you to go too. And a couple of other things. It tends to get a bit sketchy in the winter, obviously, when you have a lot of stuff on your windshield, because it is up here. It doesn't always work. You do have cameras in the back as well. I think you've got some sensors in the front, and those ones can go as well. This has lane departure warning. It also has lane keep assist, so it will assist you in keeping in your lane, which I dislike a great deal, so I tend to turn it off with the button on the steering wheel. Not because I drift a lot, but just because it tends to pick up even random lines that are on the road from construction, which we have a lot of here. So if there's like a covered paint line and you're kind of riding between two, it constantly tries to like pop you into a lane that doesn't exist or push you over into the median or something. So not always the best here. Now in terms of the drive, I like it. It's underpowered for the size that it is, but then again, it's not meant to be this super fast SUV. Now, I've never been one to complain about Subaru CVT, but this one I don't really like. I find it really whiny. It's loud. It takes a while for it to warm up in the winter. It does shift fakely for you to help with those people who miss their gears like me, but it takes time for it to get into that mode. And yeah, I could shift with the paddle shifters, but really I don't want to have to worry about that. I just want to be able to drive, and I don't know, I just find it a little bit loud for my liking. I guess I could get used to it and I'd learn to live with it, but yeah, it's a little droney. Other than that, Steering is on point. Suspension feels pretty good. Kind of rough at times. Not the smoothest big vehicle I've ever been in. You definitely feel the imperfections in the road. In terms of handling, well, it's a big vehicle, so you're going to feel a bit floppy in the corners. Again, that's kind of a given with what this is. And yeah, and overall, I'm averaging, in terms of like fuel economy, you know, again, this is a big car. It's all-wheel drive all the time. I'm averaging, let me go through my fancy little screen here, 12.6 liters per 100 kilometers. And a full tank of gas will get you about 500 kilometers in that range, which is what I was averaging for the week, which isn't bad. And the 12.6, kind of high, but again, it's a big, heavy all-wheel drive vehicle, so. And I was doing a combination of highway and suburban stop and go. So it was a good mix, and that's what I've come out with. I like the Subaru Ascent. I prefer the Atlas, which I believe is on the same chassis. I don't know why. I think it feels a bit more solid, maybe. I prefer the interior. I like the interior of this one, but the Atlas kind of speaks to me a little bit more, and the exterior of the Atlas as well is a little bit more refined in my mind. And they offer all of the same things. Obviously, it doesn't have eyesight, but, you know. I'm also not a huge fan of eyesight, despite the car that hit me would not have hit me had it been equipped with said feature. I don't particularly like those nanny features, and I tend to turn them off, and eyesight is pretty much always running for you. So anyways, it's a fun car. I enjoyed my week with it. I kind of wish I'd had more snow with it. I did get a bit of a snowfall. We had a little bit of fun, but I could see this doing very well in heavy snow conditions, deep snow. You've got a lot of ground clearance on this thing. And then, of course, you've got Subaru's asymmetrical all-wheel drive, which is by far the best on the market, and I can't say enough good things about their all-wheel drive. So if you're looking for a 3-road large SUV and you didn't realize that Subaru had one, well, surprise, they do, and you definitely want to check this one out. So this is the largest Subaru in the lineup. So it's the big boy, it's the 3-row, and truthfully, it kind of looks like every other SUV on the road today. There's really not a whole lot to write home about when it comes to the exterior look of this thing. Now, I do love the color that I have this particular Ascent in. I think the brown is kind of sexy. Gives it a little je ne sais quoi that sets it apart from the other cars on the road. You don't see many brown vehicles out there, and I think you should, because it looks great. You know, it has some classic Subaru hints to it, but of course it does look the most different only because it is the largest, and it really doesn't follow the same shape as the other Subarus in the lineup. But you know what? I think that's okay, and I think it suits the vehicle. You still get, you know, the Subaru headlights up front. It's got clean, classy lines. Again, nothing really to write home about, but it's not an unattractive SUV, but it won't necessarily turn all the heads on the road as it drives by. All right, guys, well, that's been it for me in the 2021 Subaru Ascent. It's been a fun week. This is a big car. If you're in the market, like I said, for a 3-row and you didn't consider Subaru because you didn't know they had one, then you definitely need to give this a look. You can always hit me up with questions and comments at Miss Miranda L on Twitter or Instagram, or Miranda Lightstone on Facebook.com, or drop a message below, and I hope to see you guys back next week. Stay warm.